Well, good morning. It is great to see everybody here today. I know that for especially several who have come from East Tennessee, it's already been a long day, but we appreciate your presence here. On behalf of THSPA and Lipscomb University, I'm Jimmy McCollum. I'm the director of THSPA, and we first of all want to thank Lipscomb University for being the host of THSPA. Lipscomb has been the host for 9 years now, and we have a couple of sets of guests from Lipscomb to welcome you. First of all, we'll welcome some folks from the Lipscomb Missions Office.
Okay, I'm gonna move this down. There's a big height difference between the two of us. So, hi guys, I'm Olivia. I'm a junior math teaching major from Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Hey! Hey!
Hey guys, I'm Brennan. I'm a senior mechanical engineering major from Chattanooga, Tennessee. We just wanted to, one, thank you guys so much for being here. And two, just want to let you know that we have a table set up right outside the Hall of Fame room with a lot of different information that you guys can come and grab if you want. If you're a freshman, sophomore, or junior in high school, feel free to fill out a Tell Me More card. And then if you're a senior, you can fill out an application. And if you fill it out with us, then you get the fee waived. So that's really great. You save $50 right there. But we'd love to answer any questions you have. So just let us know. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
We're very proud today to have the president of Lipscomb University with us today, Dr. Randy LOWRY. Dr. LOWRY has served as the 17th president of Lipscomb University since September of 2005. Under his leadership, Lipscomb has experienced an enrollment growth of 80% and has expanded with the addition of Middle Tennessee's first College of Pharmacy, 102 new undergraduate, graduate, doctoral, and certificate programs, and 7 new institutes. Lipscomb is ranked is number 18 in the Regional Universities South category and the South's 9 most innovative universities according to U.S. News and World Report. The College of Education's secondary teacher preparation program was ranked number 1 in the nation. In 2015, Lipscomb was named to the Kiplinger Personal Finance list of 100 best values in private universities, and this year had another ranking as number 1 Christian university in Tennessee, and the 23rd of the 288 surveyed across the nation. Dr. LOWRY earned his bachelor's and master's degree from Pepperdine University and his Juris Doctorate degree from Hamline University School of Law. He is married to Rhonda LOWRY, who serves as a senior fellow in our Institute for Christian Spirituality. They have 3 children, 1 foster son, and 6 grandchildren. If you will, please join me in welcoming President Randy LOWRY.
Well, good morning to all of you. I was reading over a cup of coffee a minute ago the schedule you have for the day. This is going to be a wonderful time for you. We thank those who are faculty and who are leading workshops. Going to make this a great day for you. And thank you for coming to Nashville, and thank you for coming to Lipscomb. When I greet students here, I say the same thing over and over again, and I keep promising not to keep using it, but it's just so good that I keep using it. And I want to share that statement with you because I think it is relevant today, both in a physical way and also in another way. I say this: you can't be who you need to be if you remain where you are. Now, that's not all that profound, but think about it for just a second. You can't be who you need to be if you remain where you are. Well, you took a day, some of you on fall break, some of you a day out of school, to come from wherever that was to this location, and you did that partially so that when you get back home, you won't be the same person. You will have learned, you will have stretched, you will have been exposed, you will be closer to that person that you are called to be. And so thank you for going to the effort and driving the miles and doing all you've done to be here. But also think about that phrase in terms of just your life and the reality that you can't be who you need to be if you remain where you are. So every experience you have and every moment where you learn and you grow, all of that becomes part of that package that will be so influential. I especially appreciate your work and your interest in the world of media and the press and information and sharing that. That's so critical to our democracy. And we hope that you will have tremendous experiences not only in high school, but continue those in college as you seek to think about that as perhaps a career, or if not a career, at least understand the importance of it. And we want to warmly welcome you to this university. As Dr. McCollum said, we are pleased that, I'm especially pleased in the ranking that says we're in the top 10 innovative universities in the Southeast United States. And we work really hard at that. If you look up there, do you see that ESPN booth? That's a little bit of innovation. We were the first university in our conference to broadcast every single athletic conference on ESPN. You're sitting in an arena that was filled with about 5,000 people for the Dove Awards just 3 days ago. We have about 200,000 visitors a year to this campus, and we seek to be warm and welcoming and seek to invite them into something that is innovative and creative. If you have time, there are classrooms in the Azell building that you'll be in that have no front to them. And they have no front to them because no longer do we anticipate a professor that stands in front of you and lectures. When you walk in those classrooms, you're already in a small group. You sit down at one of 4 tables, plug in your computer, and you can put anything you have on your computer on one of 4 screens around the room. The world of education is changing dramatically. No longer is the teacher the sage on the stage, but the teacher is now the guide at your side. And that puts a certain amount of responsibility on you, but also, we think, increases learning tremendously. So I want you to have a great day. Know that we are honored that you are here. And before I leave, let me just have us pause for a moment, because I'm not sure you have this time during the rest of the day. But to recognize that there are people on their day off here at Lipscomb that are here because they want to serve you. And there are people like Dr. McCollum who have worked weeks and months to get ready for this day. And I don't think you'll be together again, and you might not be given this opportunity. But let's early this morning thank them for all they have done. God bless you on your day.
President Lowry, thank you so much. Before we introduce our keynote speaker today, let me just remind all of you that you are storytellers. You tell stories with your pen, with your computer, with your phone, with your camera, with your video camera. And this is a prime opportunity right now to get started. So I want you to certainly soak up today with information, but I would encourage you for your yearbooks, for your newspapers, for your online, for your broadcast, start reporting right now. Feel free as our keynote speaker comes up to take pictures, to shoot some video, get down front, take those good pictures. We would encourage you to do that. How many of you in your classes have studied the Supreme Court case Tinker v. Des Moines? All right, good. Looks like about a third, I believe. It was almost 50 years ago exactly. In just a couple months, we'll be celebrating something that happened 50 years ago. For those of you who raised your hand, or if you raised your hand, you're about to see your textbook or your lecture come to life. But even if you did not raise your hand a few moments ago, we are all in for a treat because we now have some American history unfolding from the person who was at the very center of it. Mary Beth Tinker was a teenager in Iowa in 1965. And at that time, the Vietnam War was being brought into our living rooms each night. And when I say Vietnam War was being brought into, I mean it was Walter Cronkite on a nightly basis saying, today's body count is, and then fill in the blank. There were 170,000 American troops stationed in Vietnam at that time. And Mary Beth and family and friends were concerned about the war. They were concerned about the dead on both sides, wanted to support a truce, a Christmas truce that had been called for by Bobby Kennedy. And at this point of the story, I'm going to step aside, and I'm going to let the person who was at the very middle of it tell the rest of that story. So if you will, please join me in welcoming Mary Beth Tinker.
Thank you, Professor McCollum. Well, I should say Dr. Mack. Dr. Mack, all right. And President Lowry, wow, that was so great. What a place this is. This is amazing. Any of you have relatives or friends that go to school here? Yeah, what a school it is. So great to be with all of you today as we celebrate the First Amendment. Yeah. And the free press. And my favorite thing to celebrate, you. Yeah. Because young people like all of you have always been at the forefront of taking us forward, moving our culture and our world towards our democratic ideals. Like, what are some of our democratic ideals? We believe in, name one now, yell out. Come on, guys. What do we believe in our country? Huh? What? Free speech, yeah, free speech. How about equality? Freedom, those things, yeah. But we weren't there. When we started our country with we the people, we weren't there. We had a long ways to go. When we started, we had things like slavery, right? And Native Americans couldn't even vote until 1934. And it was their country before a lot of us got here, right? So we had to go towards those democratic ideals. And young people like you have been helping to move us there all these years. Why? Because you have natural qualities that help do that. You have, like Einstein said, there's a quality that's actually more important even than knowledge. What is that wonderful quality that you guys are famous for? Imagination. Here's to imagination. Yeah. Imagination. How about a sense of fairness? You have a sense of fairness. And that's what democracy is really all about, fairness. How about you like to take action? It's right in your brain chemistry. It's right in your brain structure. Teenagers like to take action. Actually, I'm a nurse, and I've worked mostly with teenagers. And so I love studying one of my other favorite subjects, your brains. Yeah, so interesting. Even the dopamine, not the dope, in your brains, helps you want to take action and be willing to take risk. Are we going to need to take risk if we're going to make our world better and move it towards our, a better democracy? Yeah, you're going to have to take some risk, right? Well, but in order to use all of those wonderful qualities that you young people have, do you think you're going to need some rights? Yeah, I'd say so. And they did a study recently saying that, these kids today don't even know about the First Amendment. They don't even know their rights. So sad. But then they went out and surveyed the adults and teachers. Where's our teachers? Where's our advisors? Come on, advisors. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're wonderful. And guess what they found out? Oh, the teachers and advisors don't know about the First Amendment always either, right? Let's see how all of you do. Somebody hand me that little box right there, would you, dear? Okay, so someone tell me one of the rights of the First Amendment. One of the rights. Now let me just ask, tell me your name. Jade, you know one of the rights of the First Amendment? One of the rights, the freedom of speech. Come on up here, Jade. Get up here. See, I knew you did. I knew you knew one of the rights of the First Amendment. Okay, Jade, now help me out with this little review here. Okay. The freedom. Now, what school are you from?
John Sevier Middle School.
John Sevier Middle School. Go, Jade. Okay, now hold this up. Help me out here. The freedom of speech. Yeah, nice going. Help me out. Hold that up. Free speech. Wow, only 60% of Americans knew that. You just beat out like a lot of Americans. Okay, what's another one? Who's got another one? Freedom of religion. Come on down. Come on, come on. The freedom of religion is kind of a 2-for-1 special because you have a right to your religion. Oh, by the way, can you be an atheist in the United States? Come on. Could you be a Buddhist? Could you be a Muslim? Could you be a Hindu? Yeah. And tell me your name.
Ansley.
Ansley, and what school are you from?
Franklin Road Academy.
Franklin Road, go girl. Okay, Ansley knows about the freedom of religion, but only 16% of Americans do. So yes, you can have any religion in our great United States. And so like if you make fun of people who are one of those religions, it's kind of like making fun of our democracy, really, right? That wouldn't be nice. That wouldn't be good. All right, so freedom of religion. And you also have the right for the government not to force you to have any religion. Okay, girl, come on. Oh, yeah, we got to get some guys up here, too. Yeah, come on. What's another one? Freedom of the press. Wow, freedom of the press. I knew that would be a favorite with all of you. Okay, so tell me your name.
Micah.
Micah, and what school are you from?
Hume-Fogg.
Hume-Fogg. Okay, go Hume-Fogg. Okay, where's some guys? Come on, guys. What's on? I can't believe you said that. Only 2% of Americans know that. Go on. Wow. 2% of Americans. You just beat out 98% of Americans. Not bad. See, that'd be a great article for your paper. And tell me your name, sir.
Jackson.
Jackson. Oh, nice headphones. You can wear those in school, huh? Nice going. Here's to the freedom of headphones. Jackson, nice going. What's your school?
Hume-Fogg.
Hume-Fogg too. Okay, Hume-Fogg. Okay. Where is a guy, because we want to even it up, who is from a school who is not represented here? Okay, what is it? What do you have to say up there, guys? Come on down. Okay. The freedom of assembly. And by the way, only 9% of Americans know this. That's amazing. So you just beat out 91% of Americans. See, I like math. Math is my subject. But tell me something, sir. What is your name? Devin. And what school are you from?
College Academy.
College Academy. Okay, now don't fall off the stage, guys, because I'm a nurse, but I don't want to have to save you guys today. Okay, now, Devin, pull it up there. I gather, I speak, I believe, I petition, I write. Now, are these for kids? Are these rights for kids? Are they for you guys? Yes, they are. Thank you. And are there limitations to these rights? Can you go out in the middle of the busiest street in Nashville today and say, hey, we're going to assemble, guys, come on over? Maybe if you have a permit. Why? Because other people have rights too. There are limitations on these rights, and those limitations go for students too. So thanks everybody for that. Hey, let's get a little photo with all of us too. Come on, guys. Here's to the first event. See, I'm into photo. Wow, yes, we live. This is good. There's a good lesson here. There's a lesson here. Okay, let's try again. Oh my goodness. Whoa. We don't want to have to go to the clinic. Okay, now don't step back. Don't step back. Okay. Woo! Okay, here's to photojournalism and safety. Here's to the First Amendment. Thanks, guys. Yeah, we live. Okay. Got your shirts? Come here. Oh, thanks.
That scared me.
How are you guys looking? Are you still alive? Are you still breathing?
I don't know anymore.
Okay, come on, guys. Okay, First Amendment. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Woo! Oh, boy. Okay, thank you, my dear. Okay, thank you, guys.
No problem.
Thanks for that little reading.
I'm gonna be awake for the rest
and
of
for
the day.
saving my life. Oh my goodness. Okay. See, it's good to. That was a lucky break, right? Okay, thank you. Okay, so the First Amendment. The First Amendment. Sometimes we have to take a little risk, and we don't even know when it might happen, right? The First Amendment is great. Well, I was growing up in a small town in Iowa. Can anybody see the slides on the other screen? You just see me? Okay, wait a second. I'm gonna copy this. Let me see. Okay, that's the temperature. All right, so how do you like my little tinker tour bus, by the way? Yeah. I've been traveling around the country all over speaking with students and teachers about my favorite subject, your rights, your brains, yeah, all these great things. So I was traveling. Well, I was growing up in Iowa, in a little small town called Atlantic, Iowa, and it was mighty times, like now. A student just told me recently, we're living in mighty times. Do you think so, everybody? Yeah, come on, mighty times. Woo, there was so much going on. And we needed the First Amendment more than ever, just like today. I was growing up, and my dad was a preacher, and he used to sing these songs like, Jesus loves the little children. Ever heard that song? I always loved that song. Well, the problem was down the street, not everybody loved all the little children. Like the swimming pool wouldn't let some children swim there. Which children? The black children. How did you guess? And so some of the kids at the church, as kids have done all through history, they decided they're going to stand up about that. They're going to speak up about it. And they went to the church and to the swimming pool and they complained about that. And they got in trouble for doing that. And my dad got in trouble for doing that. And we got kicked out of church. We had to move to a whole new town. It was 1957. I was just in kindergarten. But I started getting the idea that it's good to stand up for democracy, for equality, for justice, for all of those great ideals that we've been raised with. So what's the next slide? Oh, right. That was my little sister and I. We were just growing up in this little small town, and going along with our life. I like to go roller skating and things and slumber parties. Well, one year, next slide, please. We were watching TV. Oh, right, I can see that. And we saw these most amazing children on TV that year. Talk about the power of journalism and photojournalism. Because these kids on TV were in Birmingham, Alabama. It was really called Bombingham, Alabama, because the Ku Klux Klan, you know the Ku Klux Klan, right? The terrorists of our time. They were out terrorizing the black community. And they were, keeping kids from walking down the street. If they were black, they wouldn't let, people shop in the stores. And the job situation was really discriminatory. And so the kids said, we will stand up and we will speak up about it. We will speak up for justice. And they organized this plan. Well, Martin Luther King was down there too, but he was in jail. So he couldn't do it. So they said, don't worry, we've got your back. We're going to get out there and we're going to stand up and speak up. And so they came marching out of their 16th Street Baptist Church. That was their headquarters. And they were singing songs like, oh, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. They were marching and clapping and everything. And the police chief didn't like that very much. The police chief, his name was Bull Connor. I'm not making this up. His name was Bull. And so he started, attacking the kids and putting... Have you seen these photos that kind of went viral? Has anybody ever seen those photos? Yeah, what happened there? It was amazing. It was called the Birmingham Children's Crusade. I was 10 years old. And I saw them on TV, and I saw how they started herding all these children into outdoor prisons they built for them. Bull Connor had built barbed wire prisons for all the kids. Almost 2,000 kids were herded into these prisons that year. And the fire department put, water hoses on them and all this. And it was really amazing. I thought, those kids are so brave to stand up for equality and for the values that I'm learning in school. But they're putting it into action. But I thought, I'm not like that. I knew I wasn't going to get out there and face any German Shepherd dogs and do all that and go to some prison in a barbed wire prison. I liked to go roller skating. And I liked to go to slumber parties. And I liked to study for my classes. And I knew I wasn't like that. Next slide, please. Oh, no. That's the day we found out. We were at a picnic that day. There's my dad on the right. My big sister Bonnie's up there behind him, and I'm kind of in the middle. I'm the cute one with braids in the back. Yeah. My brother Paul is on the end. I think he's putting some kind of grasshopper in my little sister Hope's hair. I'm not sure, but and there were some of our family friends and things. So that was after the Birmingham Children's Crusade. September 15th, the crusade was in May. And September 15th, the Ku Klux Klan, to punish the kids, put a bomb in their church, in the headquarters, right on Sunday morning during Sunday school. And 4 little girls, Cynthia, Addie Mae, they were just about the same age as me and my sisters. And their little bodies, their charred, burned bodies were found in the stairwell of the church that September 15th, Sunday morning. This photo is from that Sunday afternoon when we were having a picnic and someone came by to tell us about the bombing of the kids that we had seen on TV a couple of months earlier, and how the Ku Klux Klan had punished the kids by bombing their church. We were so sad about that. We couldn't even believe it. Next, please. There was a memorial service in Des Moines that year, and one of our friends' dad, Bill Eckhart, he wore a black armband to the memorial service. Not to school, that came later. And so a black armband is a symbol of mourning. It goes way back in history. Have you all heard about that, the black armbands? Yeah, if like a soldier got killed or someone in your family died, maybe you'd wear a black armband to show that you're sad about something. You're sad about that. And so Bill Eckhart wore a black armband to the memorial service. That was in 1963. And others did too, a few others did too. Well, the next summer was something amazing again, where young people made a difference and stood up and spoke up. And again, it was the power of journalism that really moved it forward. And it was called Mississippi Freedom Summer. That summer in Mississippi, there were about 2 or 3% of African Americans registered to vote. Why? Because there was a reign of terror going on, where if a black person dared to go to try to register to vote, they could be lynched, they could be killed, they could be dumped in the river, they could be tortured and killed, they could be humiliated, they could lose their job. I know you've all heard about this, right? And that's what was happening. And so young people, again, throughout the country said, that's not good enough. They noticed something unfair, and they had imagination, and they imagined a better way, and they took action, and they gathered in Ohio at Western College for Women, 700 college students that summer, and they were led by people like Robert Moses and John Lewis in a group called the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. SNCC was their nickname. Well, they trained up there in Ohio how to go down to Mississippi, and that's some of the freedom schools that they had, and there were lots of journalists that were there because everyone knew that the Ku Klux Klan was getting ready. They were buying guns and they were arming, and they kept telling everyone, we're ready for these outside agitators. We're going to get them. We're going to show them how things are done here. And so everyone was tense, and the danger was building up. And a lot of the parents were writing to the students saying, you get home right now. You're not doing that this summer. And you can read the letters from the students saying, no, we're going to go there and we're going to stand up for democracy, as young people always have through our history. That summer, next please, as soon as the first group got to Mississippi, 3 of them disappeared: Cheney, Schwerner, and Goodman. Nobody knew where they had gone. Cheney had been a resident there of Mississippi, and he had gone up to Ohio to help train the college students how to act when there's some pickup truck following you with a shotgun in the back and maybe a Confederate flag slapped on the bumper, and they're saying, we know where you live, and we're going to find you, and we're going to see if you live through the night. He had been up there training them. Cheney and Schwerner, they had come to help with the Mississippi Freedom Summer. They were volunteers, and as soon as they got to Mississippi, all 3 of them disappeared. They had gone to investigate the bombing of a black church. Nobody knew where they went, but everyone suspected the Ku Klux Klan had gotten them. And so a call went out all over the country, people, please come to Mississippi this year so that these young people, these brave young people, won't be killed, won't be murdered. And my parents heard about it. My dad, the preacher who believed in putting his Christian ideals of brotherhood and love into action. And he said, we should go there to Mississippi, and we should stand with these brave young people who are trying to stand up for the ideals of equality and love. And my mom agreed, and all of us kids went to stay at relatives and friends, and they went to Mississippi. And they came home on my 12th birthday. I didn't know it at the time, but their stories, talk about storytelling, were so powerful, and one of the greatest gifts I ever had for a birthday. Because they told us about how they were staying out at the home of an older black lady out in the countryside where it was dark, this rural area outside of Ruleville, Mississippi. And the lady said to my parents, now tonight when you go to sleep, I want you sleeping in the back, so that when the shooting starts, you'll be safe back there. My parents are like, shooting? What are you going to shoot? Oh, it's okay, honey. She says, I'm used to it. She's used to it. That's her life. And so my parents were worried, and they went back to the back of the house, and that night they couldn't sleep, of course. They were worried, and in the middle of the night, they hear these shots ring out. The shooting had started. And so they rush up to the front of the house, and here's the lady crouched under the window, by the window, looking out in that dark night in Mississippi at a pickup truck with the guy inside, the driver, shooting at her house, and had just shot and killed her dog. And my parents said, quick, let's call the sheriff, let's call the sheriff. What do you think she said? Can't do that. Why? That is the sheriff, that is the sheriff, that is the sheriff. That's where we're coming from. That's how the law and the Ku Klux Klan were tied in together, and why Martin Luther King said that sometimes the law is used for justice and sometimes it's used for injustice. And that night it was being used for injustice, and my parents somehow, and the older lady, managed to live through that night. The guy finally drove away. It was a warning of what's going to happen to you if you stand up for the right to vote. And all of this is why we needed a Voting Rights Act, by the way, that was passed by Congress and Lyndon Johnson. Maybe you've heard of it. It was passed the next year in 1965. And these young people, these brave people, allies they had also with adults. That's why we got a Voting Rights Act. It didn't just happen. It happened because people stood up and spoke up for democracy, and so many of them were young. So that was 1964. My parents came home and told us that story, and I again thought, man, that's some brave people. I really admired all of them and my parents, but I knew I wasn't like that. I knew I liked to go roller skating, and I liked to go to slumber parties and study for my classes because I was a top student. But I thought they were pretty amazing. At the end of the summer, by the way, can you go back one, please? At the end of the summer, in August that summer, August 4th, they finally found the tortured bodies of Cheney, Schwerner, and Goodman, who had been killed and dumped in a dam on the very same day that off the coast of North Vietnam, a U.S. Navy ship claimed that it had been attacked by the North Vietnamese. It turns out it hadn't been, but it didn't stop the U.S. Congress from voting almost unanimously to start escalating the war and send more and more troops. So by the next Christmas, 1965, Christmas time, December, my dad, now we were more and more involved with the Quakers, although my dad was still a Methodist preacher. And he would always light the Yule candles for us and preach to us from the Bible about the promise of Jesus' birth, the promise of forgiveness and love. But on TV, we saw this. There wasn't forgiveness, there wasn't love. There was hate, there was killing, there was bombing, there was war. And we would also see the huts of the Vietnamese and the little children running out of their smoking and burning huts. And we saw the body bags on the ground. And just like Dr. Max said, every night on the news was Walter Cronkite saying, the body count today in Vietnam is 8. Day after day after day. The power of knowing what's going on, the power of the news. We started getting sadder and sadder when we saw this, all of us kids. And we didn't know what to do. I think we felt like a little 6th grader told me recently. She said, I see the news and I feel sad, but I don't know what to do. Did you all ever feel that way? I know I have, and I still do today a lot. Don't know what to do. Well, some of the students at the high school, my brother John and some of his friends, they had an idea. What if we just wear black armbands to school, and this will be our message this Christmas, that we're sad about the war. And we're mourning for the dead. And they said, also there's a senator named Robert Kennedy, and we heard that he's proposing a truce, a Christmas truce. And so part of our message could be that, yes, that's a good idea. See, kids are so logical too. Christmas time, war, let's have a truce, Christmas truce. And, why don't the adults use their words? Like they're always telling us to do, right? They're always telling kids to do that. We thought maybe the adults could try to negotiate and use their words. And so they said to me, come on, Beth, you can do it too. They used to call me Beth. come on, Beth, you can do it. And I said, oh, I don't know about all that. I think it's a great idea for you all. But I was kind of worried and scared I might get in trouble. I kept going back and forth and thinking of those kids in Birmingham and all those brave people. And in the end, I decided I would try. So I had my armband on, and I was really worried. It was just like this, and I went off to school, and I was nervous, and I saw my friend Connie, who I went roller skating with all the time. And she said, you better take off that armband. You're going to get in trouble. And well, I had a feeling I might, in fact, because 2 days earlier, the principals heard about our plan. How did they hear? Some students wrote an article about it for the school newspaper. Yeah. And so the principals heard about it. I guess they had prior review. And they made a rule against armbands. No armbands to be allowed in the Des Moines schools. It came out in the Des Moines Register in the morning paper. So I was really nervous now, but I said, no, I'm going to try to stand up and speak up for peace. And so I had my armband on. And as soon as I got there, very soon after, I saw my math teacher, my favorite teacher, standing by the door with a pink slip in his hand. And he said to go to the office, and I was nervous. I went down to the office, and Mrs. Tarman, the girl's advisor, said, Mary Beth, you're a good student. Now take off that armband. So I looked at Mrs. Tarman, and I looked around the office, and I was 13 years old. I was in 8th grade. And my little tiny bit of courage that I had finally ran out. And I said, okay, Mrs. Tarman. I took off that armband. And I put it on her desk, and I thought, ooh, that's over. As you can see, it wasn't over, though, because she said, I'm thinking about it, and since you broke the rules, you're going to be suspended. I took my papers, I walked home, I didn't know what my parents were going to think. Another boy named Chris Eckhart, whose dad had been at the Birmingham service, he was suspended for wearing a black armband. A few other kids were suspended, my brother John. Suddenly in town, everyone started getting really mad at us. My dad was also upset because he hadn't wanted us to wear the armbands. He said that we shouldn't break the rules. But you see, kids are very persuasive, too. And so we had said, but Dad, look how you stand up for what you believe in. Yeah. So we convinced him. But some people in town got really, really mad. And they started throwing red paint at our house and saying that we were communists and threatening to bomb our house that Christmas Eve. I couldn't believe it. The haters, Man, the haters be hating. I want to go to that workshop you guys have coming up. And I was really surprised. My mom would always say, we're not communists, we're Methodists. Gosh, get that straight. Geez, somebody even called me on the phone and said, I'm going to kill you, Mary Beth. I was like, these people are crazy. Oh, boy. But there was one group that was really nice. They called up. They've been around for 100 years now. And their whole thing is to stand up for the First Amendment Bill of Rights. And that's the American Civil Liberties Union, the ACLU. And it's not always so popular to stand up for an unpopular viewpoint, an unpopular person. And we weren't very popular back then. Polls showed that about 85% of the American public were in favor of the war then. But the ACLU said, that's okay, that's what we do. We're the Bill of Rights people, that's what we do. And that's why we go to court more than any organization in the United States. And they said, we don't care if you're popular or unpopular, you still have your rights, that's our First Amendment. And do you think this makes the ACLU real popular, by the way? No, they're not real popular either sometimes, but that's okay. They keep doing their thing. So they said, we're going to help you. And they said that first you have to go to the school board and try to change their mind. And this is us at the school board. My mother's sitting beside me. Oh, yeah, how do you like that little flip? Huh? Kind of cute, huh? And my dad's in back, and Bruce Clark and Chris Singer, they got suspended too. But the school board wouldn't change their mind. They said, no, these kids have to follow the rules. We said there's going to be no armbands. They broke the rule. So it went to court. And we lost at the district level. And I thought, of course you're going to lose. We're going to lose because no big important judge is going to say kids have rights. And then, next please, we went to the appeals. Well, that's Chris Eckhart and his parents at the school board meeting. By now, his mom decided she's going to wear an armband, too. She was for peace, too. And so, next please, we went to the appeals level. And at the appeals court, oh yeah, now we got kind of jazzy. We decided to put a peace sign on our armbands. Yeah, come on. That's my brother, John. Well, we lost at the appeals level, too. And so I couldn't believe it when I was a junior in high school. Of course I thought we were going to lose, but when I was a junior in high school, I was really surprised and happy when the Supreme Court, first of all, decided to take the case because they only take they take something like 70 cases out of 10,000 that come to the Supreme Court that want to be heard every year. And so we were really happy that they thought this was important to decide. Do kids have rights in the schools? And so they took our case, and then in February when I was a junior in high school, they ruled by 7-2 that yes, you do have rights in public school. And they said that neither students or teachers lose their rights in the public schools. And they said that students are persons. Yeah, how do you like it, guys? You like being persons? Come on, that's pretty good, huh? Students, actually, as it turns out, are persons. Yeah. Under our Constitution, you are persons with the rights and responsibilities of persons, and that schools should not be enclaves of totalitarianism. That's a good idea. It was a wonderful ruling for what school should be like and what education should be like. And I went on and I grew up and I became a nurse, and I started seeing that, wow, you know, these kids really do need to start speaking up for themselves. Next slide, please. That's the day that we won the case. That was an article in the New York Times. That was really great. And so the Tinker Standard was the standard for many years because the court said that there are two things students can't do. Substantially disrupt the rights, disrupt the school, I mean. Students cannot substantially disrupt school. And students cannot impinge on the rights of others. But otherwise, hey, they can have their speech. That was the standard for many years until 1988 with Hazelwood. You guys know the Hazelwood case? Hazelwood was where some students in Hazelwood, Missouri were writing an editorial in their paper, not just editorials, but articles about pregnancy and divorce. And their principal censored it, and it went to court. And the Supreme Court ruled that if it's school-sponsored, there's more chance to censor it. So people have been speaking up and standing up about that ever since, and 8 states now have laws saying, no, actually, we're not going to go by that. We're going to go by the Tinker ruling, as long as it's not substantially disruptive. Students have their rights. So that's another subject. But there were several cases that came after ours that did cut back on the rights of students. Next, please. And I was working as a nurse, and I started seeing all these wonderful qualities that I was talking about that all of you have. And I started thinking, you know, these kids, you guys need to start standing up for yourselves. And I started seeing when kids do speak up and use your own voices, it's very powerful. And you can change policies, and you can change things for your own interests, in your own interests. And next, please. I started thinking that actually kids are the next great leap for democracy. When young people like you stand up for your interests and for what's right and for democracy, it's going to take our democracy forward in leaps and bounds, and it already is. And I started traveling around, next please, and meeting young people all over the country who are speaking up and standing up, and the advisors and the principals that want you to, like Mr. Brannigan there on the front who got an award. And I started meeting people all over the country and going to Birmingham and New Mexico and going to juvenile detention centers and all kinds of places where young people are, the Journalism Education Conference in Boston, all kinds of things. My favorite stop, I think, was one in Des Moines, Iowa, at my old junior high school, where I was invited back for a big assembly, and the superintendent came, and they even dedicated a locker to me. Yeah, that was one of my very favorite stops. It was really great. So I was traveling all over the place, and I started meeting these kids all over who were standing up and speaking up. Like these kids in Pennsylvania, they voted on their editorial staff not to use the word Redskins in their paper anymore. They took the dictionary to the school board meeting, and it said, Redskins, definition, insulting term for Native Americans. So they showed that to the school board to explain why they're not going to be using that word anymore in their paper. And they got in all kinds of trouble, and their advisor got suspended without pay, I think, for a couple days. But hey, they just won a big award from the Journalism Education Association for doing that. The JEA Courage in Journalism Award. And this is Savannah Redding, who stood up for her right not to be strip searched in public school. Hey, yeah, would you like to be strip searched, next week in school? If you're not, it's one of the reasons maybe because of Savannah Redding. She was 13. She won her case. I met up with her. Next, please. I met up with these kids in Washington, D.C., where I live now, where we have no senators. We can't have any senators. Have you ever heard of this? Who's heard of this? Washington, D.C. residents do not have any representation or senators in Congress, right? So these kids were at a Senate hearing saying, that should change and we need a voice. What's next? Journey, she's 3rd grade. She spoke about her school closing and how they shouldn't close her school. And she said, this school has made me who I am. Yeah, I made a little video of her. She was great. Who else? You can just keep flicking through. Oh, this is Sabrish and Bryce. They came up after a program and said they're speaking up about child labor and about slavery that we still have going on in the world today. These are kids in Northport, New York, who spoke up about their French teacher being laid off. They used their petition rights. And here's some students. Oh, photojournalists. That was neat in Palo Alto. They had a big conference where they highlighted the issues of the day, like genocide and immigration issues and all the things that were going on in their community there. This is Mason. He's standing up about Arctic drilling. And this is Casey. I think she got herself on the Virginia School Board so that she could, have a say and represent her students there at her school. And this is Nathan. He's speaking up. He came up after the program and told me he's speaking up against gay rights. And does he have a right to do that? Yes, because of what? The First Amendment. Thank you. So we talked about that for a while. And he's also helping the homeless. Next. And these kids are speaking up for gay rights. And do they have a right to do that? Yes. Because of what? First Amendment. And these kids were out in Ohio. I went to interview them when I heard they were out there picketing in favor of their teachers who were out on strike. They were trying to get smaller class sizes and less testing. And yes, next. Oh, this is Ian. He was in Washington, D.C. at a program for Black Lives Matter. I met up with him there at the rally. And this is Anaya and Navaya. Oh, yeah, little sisters. They're cute. They were also standing up for Black Lives Matter. This is me with some kids in Virginia recently. So anyway, I'll just end with the words of some students that were at the United Nations recently, encouraging the United States to sign on to the Declaration of Human Rights for Children. The United States is the only country now. 190 countries have signed on to it except for the United States. And so these kids said, we are not the problem, we are the solution. And you may say that we are the future, but we are also the present. So thanks for being here in the present today. Hope you have a great day, everyone. Stand up for your rights. Thank you.